Guys, we have to keep calling out YouTubers who spread misandry, especially large ones. Now, look at this from Patrick C. He has 2.4 million subscribers. And the reason why, one of the reasons why, Patrick, that your subs are so large is because you toe the anti-male line. Now, we're going to show what you have to say, and I'm going to call you out.
A school in South Africa, but things got so much darker than she ever could have imagined. Earlier in her career, Oprah met with South African President Nelson Mandela to discuss strategies for addressing poverty. During her stay at the Mandela's home, she expressed her belief that education is key to leveling the playing field and shared her dream to build a school for girls in their country.
Why girls? How is this fighting poverty? If it's about poverty, she would make a co-ed school, Patrick. She would make it for both boys and girls. So how is this defeating poverty when she's leaving boys behind?
5 years later, the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls opened its doors. She poured $40 million into the 28-building campus for poor and disadvantaged girls.
Yeah, the boys, they can go to hell. And by the way, Patrick, these boys that they're ignoring will be expected to uphold the infrastructure of the country, even while having the rug pulled out from under them. Just like every other country in the world.
A place of learning as well as living for them. We have to have a theater because this is a school for leaders, and in order to be a leader, you have to have a voice.
It's a leader, so not just educating these girls to work a job. Working a job, Patrick, is for us subhumans. No, these women have to be in charge.
And have to have a voice. You need oration. So the idea for the...
And when they're in charge, they're not going to be held responsible for anything they do wrong.
School came about based on what I felt would be an honor for the African girls.
And all this for free. Free uniforms, free books, free meals.
Not for the boys. The boys have to work for what they get.
Everything is free at Oprah's school.
Initially, she was criticized for being too extravagant. Critics questioned whether high thread count sheets in the dormitories, a beauty salon, 2 theaters, and a dedicated yoga studio were necessary for an institution serving girls from impoverished communities.
Of course, because women are about luxuries. You think these young girls aren't about luxuries, Patrick? Of course they are.
However, horrific allegations between 2007 and 2010 made the situation far more serious. A dormitory employee, Virginia Macapo, was arrested on charges including assault, indecent assault, and soliciting underage girls to perform indecent acts.
No, this is a woman. So I'm not as angry because it's almost always guys. Guess what? They put a bunch of women in staff. So there's no men, Patrick, for them to go after. If there was any male teachers here, the girls would go after them first. So I know that this is an all-female school. Like all the teachers are female.
At least 7 victims came forward, and Winfrey was shook to her core about these horrifying statements.
Now, Patrick, you're going to, by your own admission, admit that these girls are not victims. That they made their stories up. So you have no right to tell this lie that these girls were victims.
She flew down to South Africa immediately. Winfrey, who called herself Mama Bear, praised the girls who reported the abuse. As often is the case, child abuse, sexual abuse happens right within the confines.
I can say sexual abuse just because you can't, you muddy grubber.
Of the people you know. I personally spoke to all the girls and encouraged them to come forward over the abuse claims. The girls are receiving counseling. I told the girls that we are going to clean out the school. There is still a lot of potential there, but Oprah may have overcorrected the problem and made the school even worse. After firing a ton of staff and implementing new rules, one parent described the school as now...
Yeah, so all those working women that had employment, fire them all. Patrick, right? That helps out the women, doesn't it?
Isolating its pupils from society, while others described it more like an abduction, where they sometimes couldn't even see their children. According to some of these parents, the school seemed like a detention camp. Witnesses stated, "We had only 2 hours to see my child. Surely this isn't a prison or an institution. The poor children are not even allowed to have any treats. Their diet is fruit, yogurt, and sandwiches." The previous week, there was a meeting.
Really? What's wrong with that? I mean, I agree. I wouldn't have this for kids. I'd say, yeah, go eat your junk food. But still, isn't this supposedly the good thing, Patrick? Right? A healthy diet.
For parents and guardians with the staff, and these issues were not brought up. Once again, Oprah, on her pursuit to make herself look better and extremely charitable, she completely misses the mark of what these mothers actually want. And it's ironic that she called herself Mama Bear to these girls when she really knows nothing about motherhood.
Hey, Mama Bear is an insult to men, Patrick. Because what does the Mama Bear do, right? She chases the Papa Bear away. She's protecting the cubs from that evil male.
Once said, "When people were pressuring me to get married and have children, I knew I was not going to be a person that ever regretted not having them because
because Oprah Winfrey doesn't have to go through that work. And a lot of women want to be in her position, right? Having children to be the next generation, that's some other woman's problem, not mine. I'm not going to contribute to my society, right? And frankly, she doesn't need to. She's super wealthy. Oprah will never have to look forward to be put into a home. She'll be looked after by nurses in a mansion, right?
I feel like I am a mother to the world's children. Now, being a symbolic parent is not the same as being responsible for a child's day-to-day safety. And
oh, by the way, Patrick, you are aging terribly. His channel is only 6 years old. I know this is beside the point. But dude, look at your earlier, just 2 or 3 years earlier. You look like a young boy. Now look at you. By the way, I'm losing my hair too. You don't have to wear the hat all the time.
Emotional well-being. Oprah viewed her school as protection and opportunity, and actual mothers viewed it as isolation and control, something that Oprah would have seen if she was an actual parent with a child of her own. Oprah later acknowledged that she might have underestimated the psychological impact of a strict boarding school. "I have made several mistakes, and one of them was..."
Yeah, strict boarding schools, that's for boys, right?
"Being overprotective of the girls, which has led to an impression that the school is isolating them from society." But again, this isn't really an apology. She's just being overprotective because she cares so much. But things were about to get so much worse. The alleged assailant, Virginia McApoe, was formally acquitted of all 14 charges.
Really, Patrick? So this woman was acquitted of all charges. So she wasn't guilty, was she? These girls were making these stories up.
The magistrate ruled that the testimony from the alleged victims was contradictory and lacked corroboration.
This is so typical. This is so typical. So these girls' stories, they lack corroboration and they contradicted each other. So they were making them up, weren't they? Right? So knowing this, why did you call them victims? This is standard practice by girls, by the way. They don't like some adult figure telling them what to do, and so they make up stories about them.
Poe declined to say whether she would forgive Winfrey and the staff of the Academy. Oprah responded, "I am profoundly disappointed at the outcome of the trial. I will forever be proud of the 9 girls who testified with the courage and conviction to be heard."
So see how that's placed, Patrick? Right? So these girls were proven to be liars, and Oprah Winfrey supports the liars. Just like you.
There was no justice for the young girls who were assaulted at Oprah's school. Now, if you
Really, no justice? What are you talking about? Are you suggesting, Patrick, that the court system was corrupt or lying? How would you know any better? What gives you the right to say that?
do a little bit of searching beyond the mainstream news, you will find countless accusations that there are missing children from Oprah's South African school. People have long been trying to connect Oprah's school with Jeffrey Epstein. However, there are no reports of missing children, nor are there any records of her visiting his island. However, her former business partner, Geraldine Laybourne, that they co-founded Oxygen Media together,
So there were no missing children. Glad you admitted that.
was found on Epstein's private jet log. And you'll notice that Oprah always has this at the scene of the crime nature to her. She was friendly with Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, Diddy, had a school in South Africa where young children were assaulted. Plus,
Why are you lying, dude? Why are you lying your ass off? Those girls weren't assaulted. They had their day in court and they were proven to be liars. Ergo, you were a liar. Patrick, you are a liar.
all of these controversies that we have mentioned before, yet she always came out squeaky clean. It was always just a misunderstanding, and she was just too empathetic or too overprotective and just wanted to do the right thing. Now, a more simple explanation is that this pattern has more to do with her proximity to power. When you're one of the most famous and influential people in the world, the circle you move in is overwhelmingly made up of other wealthy, powerful figures. Being photographed with or professionally connected to people like Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, or Diddy may simply reflect the reality of Hollywood and billionaire.
By the way, Bill Cosby was let go, dude. He was exonerated. So you have no business saying Oprah is guilty by association with Bill Cosby.
Class networking, which is why Oprah had to set the record straight that she never went to a Diddy party.
I have never been near a Puff party. Never been near.
Well, she's also not responsible for his actions, right?
And anybody who knows me knows if there is
Is Diddy in jail? If he's guilty of like beating his girlfriend or something like that, why isn't he in jail?
a party, I'm the first one out. Right. I'm the first one out.
Yeah, I better check it out. See, I'll see if Diddy is actually in jail. He might be, for all I know. Okay, he is. And you know what? He's guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Patrick, I believe prostitution should be legalized. So this guy isn't much of a villain, is he?
But people love salacious stories.
But she was not as clear when it came to denouncing the horrible crimes of Harvey Weinstein. Harvey was a film producer and one of the most
What are
powerful.
you talking about horrible crimes? His crimes aren't horrible. Matter of fact, I believe he was railroaded. All he's really guilty of is the casting couch, right? He had to say whether women got $1 million careers, and these women were a dime a dozen. And these women were willing to engage in the casting couch.
Men in Hollywood. Beginning in the 1990s and continuing for years, multiple women later testified that Weinstein used his power to coerce sexual encounters, threaten professional retaliation, and sabotage careers when advances were rejected. When those allegations finally became public in 2017,
Says them. Where's the proof, Patrick? This is a he said, she sells seashells, right? He said, she said. By rights, he should never have been incarcerated.
reporting revealed that Weinstein had paid settlements to silence accusers, used private investigators to intimidate women, and
Dude, If he gave them settlements, that's not silencing them. They were willing, and you're taking it as if he's guilty, but to me, it's the opposite. These women were giving him a shakedown. They said, I'm going to lie about you unless you give me some free money, because they were talented enough to get the gig.
Journalists and relied on legal agreements to keep victims quiet. More than 80 women accused Harvey Weinstein of sexual harassment. 6 women testified, and he was found guilty of third-degree rape and a first-degree.
6. So 6 out of 80. So what does that tell you, Patrick? That the vast majority of them were bullshitting and making up stories. And even the women who supposedly weren't bullshitting, where's their proof? Did they have any recordings? Like the Depp trial, everyone saw that on screen. We could tell what was going on. I didn't see 1 minute of the Epstein trial. They kept that under wraps, because I bet they had 0 evidence other than these women's word. And just like the South African girls who were caught lying.
Criminal Sex Act. He was sentenced to 23 years in prison in 2020, but when Oprah was confronted publicly about Weinstein's actions, she steered the conversation away from him, which was seen by many as her protection.
Well, she's not responsible for him, dude. So yeah, Oprah Winfrey, there's a lot of negative things you could say, but this is about you, Patrick. No, those young African girls were lying their asses off. The courts showed it. They said their testimonies were contradictory. And here you're admitting that, and now telling this bold-faced lie that these girls were victims. The only thing that makes me feel good is that the real victim was a female for a change. It was a female teacher as opposed to a male teacher. And the only reason that it was female is there were no male teachers to abuse and lie about. So, Patrick, you've been called out. And again, one of the reasons why you have over 2 million subs is because you told the line, the anti-male, misandrist line. And that's all we need to say about this.